Hello again, everyone. It's Sarah Revels from NHC CBT with another welcome video. And today I'm really excited to be here with Jessica Hossfeld.
Hello.
And do you like to be called Jessica or Jess?
Jess.
Jess. So it's Jess. Jess is here. And we are really lucky to have Jess on the team. Jess has a lot of certifications and trainings and experience, and I will let you sort of tell them a little about it. So would you mind telling us about sort of what ages you work with and what are some of your favorite diagnoses or treatment types to do?
Okay. Well, I love working with, I guess, from teens on up. And I have worked for the last 8 years in the VA, working with military members come home from combat and military sexual trauma survivors and their families. And I have a great passion for the mind body connection, bringing in alternative therapies like the equine therapies or yoga, for instance. I'm doing a yoga training because I feel so strongly about it.
What yoga training are you doing?
I'm doing Bender Barrel Birch's Power Yoga series and also mindful yoga therapy.
Wow.
So that's trauma focused.
Oh yeah, and we have with Lisa Bolden the Trauma Center Trauma Sensitive Yoga for chronic trauma and the yoga for peaceful embodiment for people with mood disorders, eating disorders, right?
Mm-hmm.
And look at the face, it's like, how impressed are you?
It's awesome. I'm really passionate about it. Bessel van der Kolk, he won't even see anybody if they're not in yoga. Like, that's how strongly he feels about it with trauma work.
Wow.
Like, he's like the father of trauma. It's very cool.
But like not the father of like creating trauma.
No.
But like the father.
No, he's
father
helping
of
us understand
treat trauma,
it. Right,
and understand trauma.
Yes.
Maybe we'll have to have him for a training.
That would be so cool.
Yeah. That's cool. You get to do that when you're the boss.
Yes, that is awesome.
So Jess, it sounds like if I'm hearing you, teens, like what's teens to you?
Probably 14.
Okay, so like 14 through elders.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 14
Absolutely.
through the end of the lifespan, and trauma is one of your big specialties.
Yes, I absolutely love the mind-body connection and helping, the polyvagal stuff. I don't
I'm gonna
think
get you rocking chairs.
Yes. I think it's such a great way of looking at kind of the foundation of all the other modalities. So things like internal family systems or DBT or acceptance and commitment therapy.
And all those things you're mentioning, the so cognitive behavioral therapies, acceptance and commitments therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, these are all things that you have trainings or certifications in, right?
Yes.
And the internal family systems.
Yes.
Alphabet soup.
Level 1, yep.
Am I missing any? I feel like
cognitive processing therapy.
Yep.
Motivational interviewing.
Just a lot. She does a lot.
Yeah.
And one thing that I think about, because I've done a good amount of trauma work for clients as well in my past. As we know, I'm a little more focused on eating disorders and related emotional disorders right now, and impulse. But when you have a focus and an understanding on trauma and how trauma develops and sustains and manifests, it is an emotional disorder in many ways. And so I find that clinicians who work well on trauma work well with anything like anxiety, depression, even oftentimes things like bipolar disorder or what we might think of as like a personality disorder. So I know we're saying clearly like trauma, we can help you. Is there anything else beyond the PTSD that you feel like is a diagnosis where if someone's doctor said, I think you have this, find someone who helps you with it, that you would feel like, yeah, I can help you with that?
I come from such a personal human approach, so to speak, that I think the labels are awesome. We need labels and we need, categories, so to speak. Our left brain, we need this. It helps us make sense of the world. Otherwise, we'd be totally overwhelmed. But I think really I can be helpful, to most anybody. And if not, then, you know, I don't want to sound conceited, but, I would like to at least try, and maybe it's not a good fit. But I really have a passion for just helping people, explore their inner worlds a little bit more and, um, be more at peace in the world, however that looks. Maybe you have goals, maybe you don't even know, maybe the depression thing, those are all ways our body protects us, and they're all protective. The anxiety, all of
Yes.
it, the addiction stuff,
Yes.
so it all makes perfect sense because we have these wonderful protective, strategies.
There's that acceptance part that I think is so helpful, right? And sometimes we might call that like psychoeducation, but just the idea of our emotions are there for a reason. And it's really about sometimes being open to listening to them and what they're trying to tell us and knowing when to say, hey, that's helpful. Here's a helpful way for me to act on that. Or, wow, thanks for offering that, anxiety, but I'm probably going to pass because, like, that was a little disproportionate to the current situation.
Right, absolutely. Learning, how we work. We have the coolest, computer in the world,
Yeah.
and we don't know much about it. I mean, we're learning more. This is the most exciting time. We're further than we've ever been.
Like, I got her
But
excited.
yeah, it is cool.
You don't have a neuroscience degree.
No,
I agree with you.
but
It's
it is cool.
amazing.
Yeah.
And the plasticity in our brain. So, and just again, working with 14 through elders, you're, I think, very aware that we always have the capacity to learn.
And to change and to grow, yeah.
So I think what we're saying is that with all the different trainings and the years of experience that you have a really good understanding of our thoughts, our behaviors, and our physical sensations. And sometimes that manifests with a label of fits in the trauma box. Sometimes it manifests with a label of fits in the personality disorder box or the mood disorder. But that you're really comfortable with a good range of things from a cognitive behavioral therapy or evidence-based standpoint.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Good to know. And if, as you can tell, Jess has kind of got the like smooth vibe going on, like a very like relaxed and centered. And so if you want somebody like that, because that can be so important to come into therapy and have your clinician, instead of like me where I kind of bounce around and like grab my client's attention, like, hey, look at me, we're gonna do some work. If you need someone who's gonna kind of go, hi, I'm here.
Yeah.
Can we just breathe?
Breathing is very important. It controls everything.
See, I can do it too.
Yeah.
Then Jess is an amazing match for that. And I'm trying to remember too, do you also do impulse control disorder, like OCD?
A little bit, but I don't have a lot of experience with it.
Is that one of the things you were wanting to learn more about?
Yes.
Okay. And then I think another thing that I'm excited about that when we talked before you want to learn more about is eating disorders.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it goes in that whole spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
It totally makes sense, and I'm fascinated by it. So.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's great. So what I'm going to be doing, so that people know, is for Jess, depending on how your schedule works out, because right now Jess is part-time. Depending how your schedule works out, for Jess and for Jamie and for Lee, and if I have somebody else too who wants to do it, we're going to try to put together a regular training of going through the cognitive behavioral therapy enhanced for eating disorders modules that I've been doing for a few years, and really giving us a small group chance to help train you all on that, maybe get some CEs for it. And so Jess will have access to me and to the rest of the team who does eating disorder work to be developing that strength in a supported and supervised way. So if that's something you're struggling with or is like comorbid with something else, you feel free to ask as well for Jess, and we'll see if it can be a good match. And I think the one thing we haven't talked about is co-occurring.
Yeah.
Where are you at with that?
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's been my primary work for the last 8 years. I mean, there's, not a single, it doesn't come in pretty boxes, I guess, so to speak.
And so mental health or behavioral health and substance use, this also you have experience with. Go. So the last thing that we'll share, which is a little bit of a surprise-ish kind of thing, and it hasn't happened yet, but we're working on it, is that as everybody knows, we do evidence-based therapy, and part of that is animal-assisted therapy because there's a lot of evidence for that, and we just love it. And we've got a few dogs and stuff, and there's gonna be hermit crabs in the waiting room.
It's gonna be awesome.
Video of the hermit crabs. But we are working actively to expand in the future into equine assisted services. And so, Jess you have good experience with horses.
I do. I was raised on a farm and competed and taught lessons and full gamut.
Didn't teach me.
Yes.
And Jess and I will be working to develop that program together. And so when in the future we do have horses, Jess will have the first access to horses. So there's not a horse right now, as much as I wish there was. There isn't one right now, but if that's something that you would like to get into when we do have it, then partnering with Jess could be a really good idea because again, Jess will have that access, and when it does manifest, her clients will have the first access to it because we don't just let anybody go run around with horses.
No, although they're good for everyone.
They are good for everyone, but they need one of us to be responsible to make sure that we don't do something silly and put the horse at risk or whatever we might do, right?
Yes, I find it helpful with folks with trauma. There's a lot of certifications for it, but it's an amazing thing. It's evidence-based. It's wonderful.
Yeah, so excited.
Yeah.
So I think that's some really good stuff for now. And so if you want to meet with Jess, because Jess is wonderful, then give us a call, 603-659-0202, or you can email info at NHC CBT, 2 C's in the middle.com. And we will talk to you soon, and hopefully you get to see Jess, and that'll be great. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm excited.